Looking up, I could not believe that we survived when we shouldn't have. The prince looks at me. He asks, "Are you okay?" I nod, looking at him questionably. It just was not possible for us to still be alive after such a fall. I looked back up the mountainside to where we had stood just seconds ago. I silently prayed for Captain Arcton and his men. They'll be fine. I know Arcton, he'll get himself and his men out somehow. Right now, we have to go. I look back at him and laugh. Where should we go, Your Highness? If you haven't noticed, we are in the middle of the ocean thanks to your brilliant idea, I say, hitting the water with my fist. Instead of answering me, Prince Caliber turns and begins to swim further out to sea. You can't be serious. We have to get back on land. Hey, wait, hello, He was just becoming a huge pain, I thought to myself. Who does he think he is anyway? I began to swim after him. He was a much faster swimmer than me. Even with my new strength, I still was having trouble keeping up with him. Finally, he came to a stop. He turns around, watching me approach. He smirks, saying, "I am glad you finally decided to join me." I just glare at him, unable to speak as I try to catch my breath. I watch as he presses several buttons on a watch-like band around his wrist. Then he places his arm back under the water. He looks at me, saying, "Now we wait." I look at him in disbelief. I ask, "What? You brought us out in the middle of the ocean to wait. Wait for what?" Prince Caliber looks past me, saying, "For my friend Wilton to find us. That is why we had to swim further out to sea. He would have never come close to the mountain. We swam in place, not speaking, just waiting for this Wilton to show up. I just separately wanted to know what he was planning. How was he going to help me, or was I his prisoner now?" I took a deep breath, preparing myself. I wanted to be as civil as I could towards him. He did save my life, I thought, even if we were in the middle of an alien ocean, trying hard not to think about what creatures swam below us. I asked, "How are we going to get back to Captain Arcton's ship?" "We have to let them know what has happened. Maybe they can help the captain and us." Prince Caliber says, "We're not, Princess." I wait for him to say more, but he doesn't. I wanted to strangle him. I tried to stay calm as I said, "Okay, so how do I get back to the ship? Because that is what you mean, right? You have some master plan to get me back to the ship, but you're not coming with me, right?" I grew more annoyed with him as more time seemed to slowly pass. Before he answered me, he sighed, saying, "We are going to the Arthanian city, my home." I start to argue with him, but he continues, "Before I can say anything, it would be the safest place for you right now. I just have to convince my father to help you. Once he learns Larg has declared himself king, I don't think he will be so opposed to you anymore. Besides, it is time for peace. There has been enough bloodshed." I wait for him to say more, but he doesn't. I start to ask him more about his plans, but stop as I stare in shock at the huge waves that move quickly towards us. Suddenly, the water started churning all around us. "Hang on, our ride's here," the prince said as he grabbed hold of my hand. We were pushed up out of the water. I pulled my hand out of Prince Caliber as I crawled onto my own hands and knees. We were both sitting on top of a round, large rock-like surface. "What is this?" I asked Prince Caliber. He was now sitting like he had no care in the world. Smiling at me, he patted the ground, saying, "This is Wilton, my old friend. He's going to give us a ride back to Chryslistian." I watched the two huge wing-like fins appear on the sides of the creature. It begins to move further out to sea. I look around, not believing my eyes for the 100th time. Examining the surface the surface that we sat on, I realized it was more like a turtle shell, not a rock. The wing-like fins appeared to be similar to that of a stingray. Wishing I could get a better look at the creature, I sat there, being glad that it wanted to help us instead of eat us. I looked over at Prince Caliber, who lay there glistening wet. I wondered how a man that I found completely annoyingly could still be completely breathtakingly handsome. Perhaps it's just this age-reversing thing that had me finding him attractive. I shake my head, clearing my thoughts. I wonder how I was ever going to regain the throne from Larg. I hope that I can trust the prince, that he was truly wanting to help me. I look back towards the mountain, expecting to see something of it, but there is no sign of land, just the vast alien ocean. It was late at night by the time we reached Crystallistian. Like Prince Caliber, I had not been able to sleep. I was too nervous and kept worrying about the men who we left behind. I hoped they were still alive and that somehow we could still help them. Biting your nails is very unladylike. Biting your nails is very unlike a princess, my lady, he said to me, rolling onto his side. I mumbled through my fingers. I wish people would stop calling me that. My princess, my lady. You know, I do have a name. Oh, excuse me. I am no different from anyone else. A few moments passed before Prince Caliber asked, "What is it?" I jumped, replying, "What?" Turning to look at him, he smiles at me, sending a shiver down my spine. "Your name?" I look nervously away, saying, "Oh, it's Dorothy, like the Wizard of Oz." He sat up then. "You know a wizard?" I replied, laughing. "Yes, a great and all-powerful one." I looked back at him, thinking he was joking, but the look on his face showed he was serious. I shook my head, saying, "What, you think?" "Oh, no, it's a movie." Realizing that he had no idea what I was talking about, even after I tried to explain the movie to him, I sighed. "Oh, never mind. I was making a joke. Ha ha. You know, I don't know any wizard." He mumbled, "Too bad." I look back and find him smiling at me. I slowly exclaim, "Were you toying with me? You understood me all along, you..." His smile deepened and he said, "I've studied human culture. The television was a fascinating subject." I looked at him questionably. He only responds, leaning back on his elbow, "Know your enemy," I grumbled. "Men, you're all the same, no matter what planet you're on." At that, he merely raises an eyebrow. I was still glaring at him when he points a finger, saying, "Welcome to my home, Crystallistian." Turning to look, I find a huge city that was casting a brilliant light in all directions. The water glittered around it, reflecting the light in the city. I exclaimed in a whisper, It's beautiful." The city was incredible, stretching out for miles in a circular pattern. The buildings were tall, yet had a natural look as if it had always been there. There were 4 smaller platforms that were attached around the city. Each one had either small houses or parks on them. I could also see women, men, and children walking around. I looked at the prince, asking, "How many people live here?" Prince Caliber, who was staring proudly at the city, said, "On the surface, about 100,000, but most of our people prefer to live in the cities below. There are about 400,000 families living below the surface." I look at him in shock, not realizing that there would be so many of them. The fact that they came from another planet and made this one their home was impressive enough. But to be able to build such a city on and below the surface of the ocean was unbelievable. The prince looks at me, saying, "Once you have rested, I will show you around our city. Perhaps it will help show you that my people are not as evil as the Garlanians claim us to be." He stood up, reaching for my hand as the creature reached one of the smaller platforms. Assisting me onto the platform, the Arthanians near us stopped to watch us. The surprise on their faces at seeing a Garlanian with their prince was very apparent. He holds the back of my arm as I walk beside him, the people bowing to him as we pass. Prince Calber said, "I will show you to your room first. Then I must speak to my father about your problem." I look up at him, feeling apprehensive. I said, "I hope room is not a fancy word for cell." He looks down at me, smiling. "I assure you, my princess, you are my guest, not my prisoner." The way he said the word "my" sent shivers down my back.